What do you believe you are up to? Michael Thompson's piercing voice sliced through the silence of the vacant restaurant. Olivia Reed's fingers halted just above the piano keys as she glanced over to find the restaurant manager watching her intently. His eyes narrowed in scrutiny. A figure in a tailored suit lingered in the shadows, observing intently. Apologies, I assumed everyone had departed, Olivia remarked, swiftly rising from the piano bench. Michael stated that the piano is intended for professional entertainment, rather than for the enjoyment of the staff. This isn't just a place with a sign inviting you to perform. I'm really sorry, it won't happen again, Olivia said, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. A figure clad in a suit advanced with purpose. I specifically asked her to play. Michael's demeanor shifted in an instant. Mr. Blackwood, I wasn't aware you were still present. As I wrapped up my tasks in the secluded dining area, the sound of music reached my ears. James Blackwood's voice exuded a serene authority. It was truly extraordinary. Olivia lifted her gaze, at last catching a distinct glimpse of the man. Her stomach plummeted. James Blackwood, the developer whose firm intended to tear down her beloved childhood music school. Thank you for the kind words, Mr. Blackwood, but I really must return to my closing duties, she replied with a hint of formality. Certainly, James responded, observing her with keen curiosity. Your name escaped me. Olivia Reed. Your performance is truly exquisite, Miss Reed. Chopin's Nocturne, Op. 9, No. 2, if my memory serves me right. Olivia was taken aback. Are you familiar with classical music? He spoke of his mother, a pianist, as an enigmatic expression flickered across his features. Melodies wove through the fabric of my early years. Michael cleared his throat, preparing to speak. Mr. Blackwood, is there anything I can fetch for you before we wrap up? No, thank you. I'll be leaving soon. James glanced at Olivia. I look forward to the opportunity to hear you play again in the future. Once he departed, Michael took a moment to draw Olivia aside. That is James Blackwood from Blackwood Developments. He is among our most significant clients, and he possesses this building. Olivia spoke softly, her certainty clear. I know exactly who he is. Later that night, Olivia stepped into her cozy apartment and sighed as she tossed aside her uncomfortable shoes. Her feet throbbed from the long hours of her double shift, and the meeting with Blackwood had stirred a sense of unease within her. Diana, her roommate, glanced up from the couch. You have arrived later than expected. Challenging evening? This is the worst, Olivia said, collapsing next to her. I was discovered tinkling the ivories at the restaurant. Oh no, did Michael lose his cool? He began to, but then James Blackwood intervened and asserted that he had requested me to play. Diana positioned herself upright. Hold on, James Blackwood? The affluent builder? Exactly, Olivia remarked, massaging her temples. The individual whose business is on the verge of demolishing the Madison Street Music School. Do you remember that spot where you had your lessons when you were younger? That's truly dreadful, Olivia agreed with a nod. That school became my refuge after my parents passed away. Mrs. Peterson offered me free lessons when we could no longer afford them, and now it's merely another structure slated for demolition to make way for luxury condos. Have you mentioned that to him? No, I simply wished for his departure. Olivia let out a deep breath. Interestingly, he genuinely appeared to enjoy the music. He identified the piece without hesitation. Diana arched her eyebrows playfully. A charming millionaire came to your rescue, preventing your dismissal and praising your performance. There are more daunting challenges. He's a millionaire with a unique story. Olivia expressed her concern, stating that his company is ruining something dear to her. Moreover, individuals like him overlook women like us. We exist in the background, merely a facet of the experience. Diana merely shrugged, as if to say, if that's what you believe. Nonetheless, it creates an engaging narrative. Olivia rose from her seat and made her way to the modest keyboard nestled in the corner of their apartment. Her fingers lingered above the keys, yet remained unpressed. When was the last time you truly engaged in play? Diana inquired softly. I no longer take the stage. That recital took place 6 years ago. Liv. A single unfortunate encounter. It was more than just bad. It was utterly humiliating. I stood still before the crowd. Olivia's voice trembled at the recollection. I cannot endure that experience once more. So you'll simply cater to affluent clientele with expensive wine for eternity? That's not the Olivia Reed I'm familiar with. Olivia remained silent. Instead, she focused on the sensation of playing tonight, the music coursing through her until Michael broke the moment. Danchi recalled the expression on James Blackwood's face as he absorbed the words. Not the analytical stare of a corporate figure, but rather something profound, something akin to understanding. For a fleeting instant, performing before an audience had lost its daunting edge. Yet, he was the very last individual she ought to be performing for. Diana leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper, as she nudged Olivia while they organized the drink orders at the service bar. He's back again, she said, a hint of intrigue in her tone. For the third time this week. Olivia cast her eyes toward table 7, where James Blackwood occupied a solitary seat, poring over documents as he awaited his meal. What's the matter? He consistently asks for you to be his server. That's no mere coincidence. It's not romance either, Olivia replied, meticulously positioning the wine glasses on her tray. He likely appreciates stability. Diana smirked, continuing to reinforce her point. As Olivia approached his table, she kept her composure intact. Good evening, Mr. Blackwood. Are you interested in discovering the specials for this evening? James glanced upward, a hint of warmth spreading across his face. Ms. Reed. Absolutely, I would love that. As she detailed the chef's preparations, Olivia realized that James was genuinely engaged, a stark contrast to the usual customers who simply waited for her to conclude. He chose the sea base, paired with a Pouligny Montrachet to complement the dish. Olivia remarked, That's a fantastic choice. The wine's minerality harmonizes beautifully with the subtle flavor of the base. James arched an eyebrow. Your knowledge of wines is impressive. Old Marcello, our former sommelier, would often challenge me with questions between shifts, claiming I had a discerning palate. Olivia instantly felt a wave of regret wash over her for divulging such a personal detail. James remarked that he was indeed correct to take you under his wing. So, after a brief pause, do you have any upcoming performances? Your performance was remarkable, Olivia tensed. I don't engage in professional performances. If you'll pardon my interruption, I'll take care of your order now. As the night unfolded, Olivia kept a measured distance, all the while stealing glances at James when he was unaware. In stark contrast to the lively gatherings surrounding him, he sat by himself, his posture impeccably straight, yet it radiated a sense of isolation instead of assurance. As she served him his dessert, James caught her off guard with a question. The Madison Street Music School. Do you feel a bond with it, perhaps? Olivia almost let the dessert spoon slip from her grasp. What prompts that question? When I brought it up to Michael, your response was one of acknowledgement. She gathered her thoughts. As a young one, I attended lessons there. I suspected that would be the case. James put down his documents. It's likely you're aware that my company has acquired that property. Regarding demolition, I understand. James examined her features closely. Your disapproval is noted. My thoughts hold no significance. Olivia set his espresso down with deliberate care. Is there anything more you require, Mr. Blackwood? James, if you could, please. He appeared to have more to express, yet he simply shook his head instead. That's all, thank you. Later that week, Diana stormed into the break room, brandishing a flyer with enthusiasm. You are making progress. You are now signed up. Olivia perused the community center recital announcement with a sense of dread. What did you do? The small, really just a local gathering with a maximum of 20 people. Diana, you know I struggle with performing in front of an audience. 6 years have passed. Liv. That's ample time to conceal your abilities. Diana clasped her hands tightly. Mrs. Patterson would surely feel let down to witness you throw in the towel. Olivia experienced the all too familiar constriction in her chest. I'm focused on my own journey now. That will suffice. Could it be? Your passion for music shines through in your words, revealing a spark that's absent when you discuss other topics. Diana clenched her hands tightly. Only a single moment, a brief encounter with courage. After considerable coaxing, Olivia finally consented to perform a brief selection at the recital. As she made her way back to her section, she couldn't help but feel a sense of surprise at finding James still seated at his table, even though he had completed his meal an hour ago. "I trust everything met your expectations," she remarked, as she cleared away his coffee cup. It was indeed. James shut his laptop with a decisive click. "Your attention appears to be elsewhere this evening." Olivia paused, contemplating her response. "A friend of mine has just enrolled me in a quaint recital at the Westside Community Center. I'm anxious about it. When will it take place?" "Next Saturday afternoon." Olivia gently shook her head, a subtle gesture that spoke volumes. "I regret having said yes. It has been quite some time since I last took the stage, back in my college days. What transpired during my time at college? I found myself paralyzed during a crucial performance, unable to produce a single sound." The recollection still caused her stomach to tighten. Not everyone is cut out for the limelight. Or maybe some spotlights don't deserve particular performers, James said softly. "Will you perform Chopin once more?" "This Debussy, to be precise. Clair de Lune. A different kind of night piece." A subtle grin played upon his lips. "I have no doubt you'll capture it perfectly." The next Saturday, Olivia glanced through the curtains of the community center at the modest assembly. Her hands were damp, her heart pounding as she surveyed the crowd. In the rear row, somewhat obscured by a supporting column, was James Blackwood. "What brings him here?" she murmured softly to Diana. "Who is it?" Diana trailed her eyes along the path of her gaze. "Hold on, is that your millionaire? He holds no significance to me. I kept the specifics to myself." "Esteemed audience," the program director proclaimed, "let us extend a warm welcome to Olivia Reed as she graces us with her rendition of Debussy's Clair de Lune." As Olivia approached the small upright piano, her legs felt heavy and unyielding. She settled into her chair, her gaze fixed on the keys while the silence lingered, heavy and awkward. Similar to her college recital, a wave of panic surged within her, poised to take control. Suddenly, her gaze landed on James, who was seated in the back row. He regarded her with a calm focus, free from any anticipation or critique. For some inexplicable reason, his presence brought her a sense of calm. With a deep breath, Olivia steadied her quivering hands on the keys and started to play. The initial sounds were tentative, yet slowly the melody began to dominate. She navigated her anxiety, the echoes of previous disappointments, and the tumultuous emotions stirred by the figure lurking in the darkness. The concluding notes lingered in the atmosphere, evoking a sense of inquiry. The modest crowd clapped enthusiastically, while Olivia hurried off the stage, her heart racing. Diana embraced her warmly, expressing how incredible she was. As Olivia glanced toward the back row, she realized James had vanished, leaving no trace of his presence. A ride home is necessary. It was not a question. Olivia glanced up from beneath the modest awning of the restaurant, where she had been patiently waiting for the rain to ease. James lingered next to his sleek black sedan, clutching an umbrella with a sense of purpose. "I'm fine, really," she insisted, pulling her thin jacket closer around her. "The rain is bound to ease shortly." A sudden thunderclap shattered her assertion, quickly succeeded by a deluge of rain. "James mentioned that it's expected to go on throughout the night. I would be happy to take you for a ride." With a brief pause, Olivia moved ahead. "Thanks a lot." Within the confines of his car, the aroma of the luxurious leather seats enveloped him, while the rain outside forged a serene bubble of solitude. Olivia provided her address, and then an uncomfortable silence enveloped the room. "Your performance last weekend was stunning," James finally remarked. "You vanished before I had the chance to express my gratitude for your presence." "I had no intention of imposing." He maneuvered through the rain-soaked streets. "You confronted your fear head-on. That requires bravery." It wasn't bravery. I simply wanted to avoid another setback. Courage is defined as taking action in the face of fear. The windshield wipers established a mesmerizing cadence as they moved along the glass. "Why did you come here?" Olivia asked abruptly. James focused intently on the road ahead. "I long to experience your music once more." "But why? You hardly know me." "Music uncovers truths about individuals that language fails to convey." He paused. "Your performance that evening at Lumiere brought back memories of my mother. She was a performer on the piano, as you noted. She was exceptionally gifted, but she chose to leave her profession behind when she wed my father." He tightened his grip on the steering wheel, a subtle shift that spoke volumes. "She would play in solitude, believing no one was there to hear, much like you once did." Olivia examined his features closely. "Is she still active in her craft?" "She passed away when I was 12, in a car accident." Apologies slipped from Olivia's lips, her voice gentle. "I experienced the loss of my parents as well at the age of 16 due to a plane crash." The collective sorrow lingered in the air, forging an unforeseen closeness between them. Olivia embarked on her journey to the music school. "It became my refuge after they passed away. Mrs. Peterson generously provided me with free lessons when my aunt was unable to cover the costs." James cast a fleeting look in her direction. "This is something you haven't brought up until now. Would it have impacted your development plans in any way?" He took his time before responding. "Business decisions are typically grounded in objective criteria rather than personal considerations." "Absolutely not," Olivia responded, her voice laced with a touch of bitterness. They arrived at her apartment building, yet neither made a move to conclude the discussion. "That's why I ceased performing in front of others," Olivia remarked, her gaze fixed on the rain cascading down the window. "Following the loss of my parents, music became the sole source of clarity in my life. I invested my all into it. Then, at that college recital, I simply fell apart. It felt as if all the sorrow I had poured into my art had turned against me, creating an insurmountable barrier. Nevertheless, your performance at the community center was truly captivating. That was unique. It was insignificant, trivial." James remarked that no performance holds insignificance. Every instance represents a moment of authentic exchange. His words resonated deeply. She had never encountered a description of music like that before. The following morning, Olivia discovered an envelope nestled in her mailbox. Within the envelope lay an invitation to audition for the Westmore Music Fellowship, a chance that could reignite her musical journey, accompanied by details of professional recording sessions that had already been arranged and funded. "This must be him," she said to Diana, pacing around their apartment. "How on earth did he manage to obtain our address?" "Ah, he took you home yesterday." "Regarding the letter, Diana, it should have been dispatched prior to that." Diana scrutinized the invitation. "This fellowship is significant, Liv. A complete year filled with learning, showcases, and networking. I'm not prepared for this." "Nonsense. You're simply afraid." Diana returned the letter. One might wonder what could possibly motivate him to take such an action. Olivia found herself pondering the very same question as she made her way to James's table that evening. "Did you arrange this?" she asked directly, presenting him with the fellowship invitation. James placed his menu on the table with a sense of tranquility. "Absolutely. What is the reason?" "Because skill merits a chance. Your assistance was not requested." "Actually, that's not the case." His calm demeanor faltered just a bit. "Would you prefer that I had remained inactive? I find myself curious about why someone I hardly know is suddenly taking an interest in my future." James paused for a moment, then motioned toward the chair opposite him. "Kindly take a seat." With a heavy heart, Olivia took her seat. "The evening I listened to your performance," he started, "you delivered my mother's beloved piece, the very nocturne she played the last time I heard her at the piano." His voice held a steady cadence, yet Olivia could perceive the depth of feeling lurking beneath his measured facade. "And you performed it at the piano in the Madison Street Music School. What is the connection to—" James remarked that his mother had attended that school. "Eleanor Blackwood. At that time, she went by Eleanor Wright." Olivia fixed her gaze on him. Did your mother go to Madison Street? For a decade. She had been their brightest star until she crossed paths with my father. He retrieved his phone and displayed an old photograph of a young woman at a grand piano, her expression immersed in the music. This was captured in that location. Olivia identified the unique windows of the school in the backdrop. I was completely unaware. How could you do that? James set the phone aside. Upon deciding to purchase that property, the connection didn't dawn on me right away. It was merely another structure, yet another endeavor. What comes next? At this moment, the significance is clear to me. He gazed intently at her. I have directed my team to examine alternative development plans that maintain the integrity of the original structure. Olivia found herself at a loss for words. James went on to say that the fellowship has no connection. Your talent truly deserves recognition, independent of our relationship. Link, the institution of learning. The melody. He took a moment to reflect. The manner in which neither of us aligns with the expectations others have of us. In that instant, an undeniable shift occurred, a profound recognition that transcended mere chance meetings and superficial perceptions. I'm at a loss for words, Olivia confessed. You should definitely audition, James said. No matter what unfolds with the building, the fellowship, or our relationship, don't allow fear to steal your music from you once more. It was only on her walk home that Olivia came to understand James had referred to a connection between them, as if there was something significant enough to label. Is the Millionaire's enigmatic waitress a tale of romance or a mere act of kindness? Olivia gazed intently at the tabloid headline displayed on Diana's phone. Underneath lay a blurred image of her and James exiting a cozy jazz club they had visited after her shift the previous week. They make me sound like a project, Olivia remarked, passing the phone back to Diana. Welcome to the world of dating under scrutiny, Diana replied. At least they captured a respectable image. We are not in a romantic relationship. You've shared moments together outside the restaurant on 5 occasions now. How would you refer to it? Olivia was at a loss for words. She found herself at a loss for words when it came to defining her relationship with James. They had been gathering consistently, sharing coffee, enjoying concerts, and even taking a long stroll through Central Park where their conversation flowed for hours. Yet neither had defined the nature of their connection. Ms. Reed, Michael's voice broke through her reverie. Mr. Blackwood's associate has requested your presence specifically. At table 7 sat not James, but an older man with steel gray hair and a smile that seemed to mask something deeper. Victor Reed introduced himself, offering a perfectly groomed hand. James's business associate, I invite you to join me. Olivia took her seat with a hint of hesitation. I am currently engaged in my work, Mr. Reed. This will just require a brief moment. Victor took a sip of his water. I was eager to meet the woman who has significantly impacted my partner's life. I'm not quite sure I understand your point. No, the redesign of the Madison Street property has incurred millions in expenses. James has always maintained a clear separation between emotions and business choices. Victor observed her intently. What sets you apart? It would be wise to pose that question to James. I possess. He's surprisingly tight-lipped regarding you. Victor inclined his body, eager to engage. I will be straightforward. James hails from a realm steeped in both affluence and duty. It's not unusual to have fleeting interests in individuals from various backgrounds. Yet these connections seldom endure. Heat surged to Olivia's cheeks. I never sought his attention. Nevertheless, you have embraced it, along with his assistance in obtaining a distinguished audition. That's not it. I'm not judging, Victor interjected with a calm demeanor. I have a genuine concern for James. His thoughts are muddled, and our investors are picking up on it. Once Victor departed, Olivia was left feeling unsettled. That evening, she delved into the depths of the internet, uncovering a plethora of articles pondering the intricacies of her relationship with James. Some depicted it as a whimsical story. Some proposed that her intentions were more strategic in nature. They have no idea who I am, she said to Diana afterward. And Victor portrayed it as though I'm jeopardizing James's business reputation. Are you concerned about the opinions of these individuals? Olivia confessed that she ought not to. But what if they have a point? James and I hail from entirely distinct realms. On the eve of her fellowship audition, James made a call. Text. I wanted to extend my best wishes for tomorrow, he remarked, although you seem to have it all under control. I'm filled with fear, Olivia confessed, and preoccupied. I encountered your partner today. A moment of stillness. Victor visited you. What were his words? It's enough to lead me to ponder our current path. Olivia inhaled deeply. James, am I creating any challenges for you in your work? Victor is preoccupied with matters that do not directly contribute to profit growth. That doesn't address the question. James let out a deep breath. There has been some resistance regarding the redesign of the music school. It's something I can manage with ease. I don't wish to be the cause of any difficulties for your business. You're not, he said gently. Shall I come by tomorrow to offer my assistance? Olivia pondered it. A piece of her longed for his presence, yet another part insisted on confronting this challenge by herself. She finally declared, I believe I must undertake this alone to demonstrate my capability. I comprehend. Despite his efforts to conceal it, she detected a hint of disappointment in his tone. Olivia, you are destined for greatness. You consistently are. The following day, Olivia stepped into the stark audition room where 3 judges were seated, awaiting her arrival. As she neared the shining grand piano, recollections of her college misadventure loomed large, yet rather than succumbing to fear, she transformed that feeling into her music. She began with Chopin's Nocturne, the piece that had forged her bond with James, then transitioned to a demanding Liszt composition that highlighted her versatility. During her performance, she envisioned herself in the vacant restaurant, with James quietly observing from the shadows, reflecting on all the melodies she had held captive for so long. Upon completion, the head judge beamed with satisfaction. Truly impressive emotional resonance, Ms. Reed. Expect to hear from us shortly. Outside, Olivia glanced at her phone, half hoping for a message from James. All was void. She reassured herself that it was of no consequence. Today centered around her music, leaving him in the background. 3 days later, the fellowship committee reached out with news that took her by surprise. She had been chosen as one of 3 fellows for the upcoming year. The initiative would encompass in-depth exploration, showcases, and global excursions, featuring a 6-month stay in Europe. Diana erupted with joy at Olivia's words, but soon caught sight of her friend's troubled demeanor. Diana remarked, This is what you've desired since your college days. What's holding you back from celebrating? Olivia settled onto the couch. Accepting entails departing from New York. As she departed, the words hung in the air, unfinished. James, Diana asked, have you shared the news with him yet? I attempted to reach out, but he has been out of touch for several days now. His assistant mentioned that he's currently managing a situation with an investor, which could be related to the adjustments in those development plans for you. Olivia objected, not for herself, but in honor of his mother's memory. Continue to reassure yourself of that. Diana settled next to her. It's essential for you to have a face-to-face conversation with him, Liv. However, when Olivia finally connected with James, his tone felt remote, nearly official. He expressed his congratulations on the fellowship, stating that it was well-deserved. What led you to that conclusion? I've been attempting to convey this to you for days. Victor brought it up, a moment of silence. The committee reached out to him for a reference. James, we must discuss the implications of this. He interjected, suggesting that your career is heading in the right direction. No need to explain yourself, Olivia. I must take my leave now. I have a matter here that requires my attention. His voice was sharp and precise. I genuinely feel joy for you. The call concluded abruptly, leaving Olivia gazing at her phone, pondering how everything had spiraled into complexity in such a short time. He's avoiding me, Olivia remarked, her gaze fixed on the bar counter as she mindlessly polished the same spot for the 3rd time. 2 weeks have passed since he arrived at Lumiere. Diana snatched the rag from her grasp. You're refining that area endlessly. Apologies. Olivia cast her eyes toward table 7, currently filled with a lively assembly of executives. I simply can't grasp what transpired. Have you considered checking his office? His assistant mentions that he is perpetually occupied with meetings. Olivia let out a deep breath. I visited the music school building yesterday. The renovation crew paused. Michael came forward, his face etched with worry. Olivia, someone is inquiring about you. Her heart soared. Is that you, James? No, that would be his assistant. I have faith in Thomas. At the entrance stood a tall figure, his kind eyes contrasting with a serious demeanor. Greetings, Ms. Reed. I am Thomas Wells, the personal assistant to Mr. Blackwood. May we have a private conversation? They ventured out onto the sidewalk. Mr. Blackwood requested that I bring this to you myself. Thomas presented her with an envelope. This is a letter of recommendation for your fellowship visa application. He could have brought this himself, Olivia remarked, striving to mask the disappointment in her tone. Thomas paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. He has been navigating considerable obstacles in his business endeavors. The circumstances surrounding the Madison Street property have led to some challenges. What types of complications are we discussing? The historical designation he sought for the building activated a clause in our investor agreement. Numerous significant supporters have retracted their backing, citing a violation of the agreement. Thomas spoke in a hushed tone. Mr. Reed has expressed his views clearly, linking these issues to Mr. Blackwood's personal distractions. Olivia was unwell. He's losing investors due to the preservation of the music school. The board is not only scrutinizing investors but also casting doubt on his judgment. Thomas examined her features closely. He seems a bit off these days. What prompts you to share this with me? In the 3 years I've been with him, I've never witnessed him show concern for anyone like he does for you. Thomas adjusted his tie with precision. He thinks you'll thrive in your music journey without him adding any complications to your life. Later that night, Olivia gazed at the acceptance packet for the fellowship. Half a year in Paris, a quarter in Vienna, and another quarter in New York. An unparalleled chance awaits. Diana discovered herself enveloped by a sea of brochures and forms. It seems you haven't submitted your acceptance yet. Have you? How can I consider departure when everything is in such disarray? Olivia waved her phone in the air. Check out this piece regarding James. They claim that I've dulled his business acumen. Diana perused the business news article. Since when have you been concerned about the opinions of financial journalists? Since I became the cause of a good man's reputation being tarnished. How theatrical. Diana settled next to her. Based on your account, it seems that James took it upon himself to make decisions regarding that building. Due to my actions. It was simply the appropriate course of action. Diana set the phone aside. The true inquiry is, what is it that you desire, Liv? I desire my music. However, I also desire... Olivia's voice faded into silence. Diana concluded her thoughts about him. You should engage in a conversation with him rather than relying on assumptions from both sides. In a shadowy corner of the city, James immersed himself in his office, meticulously analyzing damage control strategies alongside Thomas. Thomas reported that the Henderson Group is considering withdrawing from the Westside project unless we agree to sell Madison Street to them at a loss. James massaged his temples. Undoubtedly, it's Victor's creation. He has been having one-on-one meetings with the board members. Certainly, he has. James gazed at the towering silhouettes of the Manhattan skyline. What's the current update on Miss Reed's fellowship status? Thomas paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. She has yet to give her formal acceptance. The due date is Friday. Excuse me? What could possibly be holding her back from accepting right away? Maybe it's the same reason you're inquiring about her rather than concentrating on rescuing your business. Thomas responded thoughtfully. May I express myself openly, sir? James gave a slight nod. You're repeating the error your father committed with your mother. James tensed up. Beg your pardon? You are making choices for Miss Reed without seeking her input. Thomas meticulously arranged the papers on the desk. You are deciding her destiny, much like your father decided for your mother. The words lingered in the space that separated them. "That's unusual," James finally remarked. "I am stepping aside to clear the path for her success. Are you? Or are you shielding yourself from the possibility of being turned down?" Thomas set a folder down on the desk. "The property assessment for Madison Street that you requested." James opened it and discovered intricate renovation plans aimed at transforming the music school into a vibrant community arts center. Thomas explained that he had taken the initiative to have these drawn up. "The structure has the potential to fulfill its initial function once more." James gazed intently at the plans, a subtle change flickering across his face. It would result in a financial loss. At first, certainly, but with effective oversight and active involvement from the community, it has the potential to achieve financial sustainability in about 3 years. Thomas approached the door. It could provide a compelling incentive for a gifted pianist to make her way back to New York following her fellowship. Once Thomas departed, James lingered at his desk well into the night, caught in a struggle between his pragmatic instincts and the unforeseen direction his heart yearned to pursue. The following morning, Olivia found a message from Diana that tightened her stomach in knots. "Take a look at the latest updates in the business world." The headline announced, "Blackwood Development Board calls emergency meeting. CEO position in jeopardy." The article reveals that Victor Reed successfully persuaded a significant number of board members to question James's leadership, pointing to the Madison Street decision as proof of emotionally driven choices that harmed shareholder interests. Without a moment's hesitation, Olivia picked up the phone and dialed Thomas. She was adamant, "I must see him today." "That could prove to be quite challenging," Thomas responded. "The board meeting is set to commence in 1 hour. Then I shall make my way to his office. He will not be present. The gathering will take place at the Madison Street building." Thomas hesitated. Mr. Reed's concept involves physically presenting the board with the property at hand. "Excellent," Olivia remarked, swiftly reaching for her coat. "I will rendezvous with them at that location." Upon her arrival at the music school building, she noticed a cluster of individuals clad in luxurious suits congregated in the main hall. From her vantage point by the window, she observed James and Victor deep in what seemed to be an intense debate. Just as she was about to step inside, Thomas blocked her path. "Ms. Reed, now is not the best moment." "It's the sole occasion," Olivia responded. "James is on the brink of losing his company due to my actions. I won't allow that to occur. What are your intentions moving forward?" Olivia gazed at the structure that had molded her formative years, that had provided her with melodies when she found herself devoid of everything else. "It was something truly frightening," she remarked. "Speak honestly. This meeting is for invited guests only, miss." As Olivia approached the entrance to the music school's main hall, a security guard stepped in her way, halting her progress. "I would like to speak with James Blackwood, please." Olivia observed the board members through the doorway, arranged in a semicircle, with James positioned at the center, his stance unwavering. "Allow her to enter," a voice I recognized said. Thomas emerged next to the guard. "Mr. Blackwood will be eager to listen to her thoughts." Upon Olivia's entrance, every gaze was drawn to her. James appeared utterly bewildered. "Olivia, what brings you here?" Victor Reed stood up from his chair. "This meeting is for board members only. Ms. Reed does not belong in this space." "Indeed I do," Olivia replied, her voice more composed than she truly felt, "as I seem to be the cause of this gathering." A mature woman with steel-gray hair voiced her thoughts. "Who might you be?" "Olivia Reed. I studied at this music school as a child, honing my skills as a pianist." She ventured deeper into the room. "And I find myself at the center of blame for Mr. Blackwood's choice to maintain this building." James approached her. "Olivia, there's no need for you to go through with this." "Absolutely, I do." She faced the board to speak. "Mr. Blackwood kept the development plans as they were, unaffected by my influence. He undertook this action due to the historical importance of this building to both the community and his family heritage." From the doorway, Thomas provided the information about his mother. Victor let out a derisive laugh. A compelling narrative. Olivia maintained that it was the truth. Eleanor Blackwood was a student here. This place molded her into both an artist and an individual. Regardless of its validity, remarked another member of the board, emotional attachment does not warrant the monetary setback. That's why I've put together a different proposal, James interjected, appearing to find his footing once more. He acknowledged Thomas with a nod as he handed out folders to every board member. James explained that there are plans to transform the building into a hub for community arts, achieving self-sufficiency within 3 years by leveraging a mix of classes, performances, and private events. While the board members scrutinized the documents, Olivia locked eyes with James. The inquiry in his eyes was unmistakable. "What brings you here?" "Ms. Reed," the older woman remarked, "I sense you are intertwined with this situation in multiple ways. You have been awarded the Westmore Fellowship, thanks to Mr. Blackwood's assistance in organizing it." "Indeed," Olivia conceded, "yet that isn't the purpose of my visit. I find myself here as the main doors swung open once more, cutting her off mid-sentence. An old man with a cane walked in, guided by Diana. "Apologies for the interruption," the man stated, his voice trembling yet resolute. "I am Professor Harold Bennett, the previous director of the Madison Street Music School. Upon learning that the destiny of this building was to be determined today, I felt compelled to be here." "Professor Bennett," Olivia murmured, her eyes lighting up at the sight of her former mentor. The old man gazed at her intently. "Olivia Reed, how you've matured." He faced the gathered board members. "This young woman stood out as one of our most promising students." Victor let out a deep, theatrical sigh. "This is quite moving, yet it does not alter the financial situation at hand." "Perhaps this will," Professor Bennett remarked, as he opened a well-worn portfolio. "I have something that I believe will pique your interest, particularly yours, Mr. Blackwood." He pulled out a sizable photograph, its edges tinged with the passage of time. "This photograph captures a moment from our spring recital in 1972. He passed it to James. "The young woman seated at the piano is Eleanor Wright, who would later adopt the name Eleanor Blackwood, while the little girl standing next to her is Sophia Cavelli." James gazed intently at the photograph. "My mother and my grandmother," Olivia said softly, her eyes lingering on the familiar face from the old family albums. The atmosphere grew still as James and Olivia positioned themselves next to each other, gazing at the photograph of their family gathered around the same piano that remained in the corner of the hall. Professor Bennett explained that Eleanor's first student was Sophia. They stayed close until Eleanor relocated following her wedding. Their families had lived side by side for many years. "That's inconceivable," James murmured. "I guarantee you it's true," Professor Bennett stated. "As soon as Olivia started her studies here, I could see the striking resemblance to her family right away. I had always intended to share my thoughts with her, but then the school faced difficulties, and I decided to retire." The seasoned woman on the board leaned in closer. "Could I take a look at that photograph?" As it circulated, Olivia glanced over at James. She spoke softly, revealing her surprise. "Nor did I," he responded, his face a mask of inscrutability. Victor took a moment to clear his throat. "This is all quite serendipitous and touching, yet it remains unchanged. It alters the entire landscape." "Victor," James interjected, "this isn't solely due to the personal connection. It clearly illustrates why this building merits preservation." He spoke to the entire board. "This goes beyond merely my mother or Miss Reed's grandmother. This location holds profound significance for countless musicians throughout the history of this community." He motioned to the blueprints they were examining. "The Art Center proposal is not an act of charity. This is a valuable contribution to our cultural heritage. Indeed, the return may not match the pace of luxury condos, yet it will be enduring and significant." "What are your thoughts on your personal interest in Miss Reed?" Victor inquired with precision. "Is that affecting your perspective too?" James glanced at Olivia before shifting his gaze back to the board. "My emotions regarding Miss Reed and my professional choices are distinct issues, although I cannot deny that encountering her brought back values I had overlooked in my quest for profit margins." A board member, a woman with gentle eyes, began to speak. "I have examined the plans for the Art Center. They are meticulous and pragmatic. I believe Blackwood Development can successfully uphold its commercial focus even while engaging in a legacy project. Slowly, the atmosphere in the room transformed. Board members started to engage with the Arts Center proposal by posing practical questions instead of rejecting it immediately. Even Victor, feeling the shift in the atmosphere, tempered his resistance. As the conversation unfolded, James discreetly took Olivia to the side. "What brings you here today?" he inquired softly. "I couldn't allow you to jeopardize your business because of this building, because of me." Olivia locked eyes with him. "I wanted to share the news that I am accepting the fellowship." James's expression dimmed a bit. "I comprehend. This is a remarkable chance." "Allow me to complete my thought," she insisted. "I'm coming to terms with it, but I've worked out a deal. Rather than spending 6 months in Paris and then 6 in Vienna, I'll switch between the two. 3 months overseas, 3 in the vibrant city of New York, spread across the year." A glimmer of hope shone in his eyes. "Would you really go that far?" "I desire my music, James. Yet I desire you as well." Olivia inhaled deeply. "Unless I misinterpreted the situation unfolding between us." He spoke gently. "You didn't. I distanced myself, believing I was hindering your progress in the same way my father did with my mother." "You're completely different from him," Olivia stated with conviction. "Your support reignited my passion, allowing me to embrace my abilities once more. You reminded me that success isn't defined only by material possessions." James cast a look at the board, now immersed in a fruitful dialogue. It appears we both required a gentle nudge to recall what is genuinely important. In the background, Professor Bennett settled himself at the old piano and began to play softly, the same Chopin nocturne that had first linked James and Olivia in the deserted restaurant. "Maybe," James remarked, a smile finally illuminating his previously serious expression, "we ought to express gratitude to our forebears for uniting us." Olivia chuckled softly. "That seems eerily reminiscent of destiny, Mr. Blackwood. There are moments when even the most astute entrepreneurs must acknowledge that they are up against powers that exceed their influence." He grasped her hand gently. "Now, let's embark on a mission to rescue this building and strategize for your spectacular performances across continents." As they returned to the board meeting, Thomas locked eyes with Olivia and offered her a discreet thumbs up. Regardless of the obstacles that awaited them, they would confront them united in harmony. 1 year later, the ballroom of the freshly updated Eleanor Blackwood Community Arts Center radiated a cozy warmth. Crystal chandeliers, meticulously maintained from the original design, illuminate the assembly of musicians, students, donors, and community members with a gentle glow. 5 minutes until the performance. Ms. Reed, a young stagehand, announced, peeking into the small preparation room where Olivia sat at a vanity mirror. "Thank you, Sophie," Olivia said, as she adjusted a pearl earring. A thoughtful gift from James to celebrate her return from her latest 3-month residency in Vienna. The door swung open once more, revealing Diana in a stunning emerald dress that exuded elegance. The venue was packed, she noted, and the donors were nearly eager to open their wallets for Thomas. "How is the new position working out for you?" Olivia inquired with a cheerful expression. Diana assumed a striking pose. "Working as an events coordinator for the esteemed Eleanor Blackwood Center is certainly a significant advancement from serving drinks at Lumiere." She glided behind Olivia, deftly tucking a wayward curl into place. "What's it like to return?" "Felt like returning to a familiar place," Olivia confessed. "Paris was splendid, yet it lacked a particular millionaire developer who has been glancing at his watch every half minute, eagerly anticipating your arrival." Olivia chuckled softly. "Is he feeling anxious?" "You're not as anxious as you were a year back." Diana pressed her hand gently on her shoulder. "You've made significant progress, Liv." A sudden knock at the door broke the silence. Professor Bennett walked in, holding a delicate bouquet of white roses. "For our standout achiever," he remarked, his voice more robust than it was a year prior. Since taking on the role of artistic director at the Arts Center, he had revitalized much of his previous energy. "Professor, this was unnecessary." He let out a chuckle, saying, These aren't from me. An admirer has asked me to provide them. He mentioned that they are to honor your last performance as Olivia Reed. Olivia's eyes grew large with surprise as she discovered a small velvet box hidden among the flowers. He certainly lacks finesse, doesn't he? Diana chuckled softly. Take your time. Once Diana and Professor Bennett had departed, Olivia gingerly unsealed the box. Within lay a vintage diamond ring, refined yet understated. A brief note was included with it. Melodies united our souls. Let us strive for a life filled with harmony. The response can hold off until you've received your well-deserved applause. J. Olivia's fingers quivered as she shut the box, carefully placing it into her evening purse. The stagehand re-emerged. Just 2 minutes, Ms. Reed. With a steadying inhale, Olivia approached the edges of the intimate stage. Beyond the curtain, the grand piano stood in anticipation, reminiscent of the photograph featuring her grandmother and James's mother, now beautifully restored to its former glory. Upon her introduction and as she stepped onto the stage, the audience erupted in a wave of warm and enthusiastic applause. She noticed James in the front row, his face reflecting a blend of pride and a more profound emotion. Thomas took a seat next to him, accompanied by a few board members who had fervently supported the Arts Center initiative. I appreciate everyone being here this evening, Olivia expressed into the microphone. This center embodies more than the mere safeguarding of a structure. It signifies the ongoing journey of a legacy. She positioned herself at the piano, embracing the moment without fear of the spotlight or the crowd. The past year had reshaped her, influencing her not only as an artist but also as an individual. The Westmore Fellowship had unveiled opportunities she had never envisioned. While her bond with James provided a solid support system she hadn't felt since the loss of her parents. I would like to start with the work that, in numerous respects, initiated this journey, she went on, Chopin's Nocturne Op. 9 No. 2. As her fingers danced across the keys, Olivia sensed the enchanting essence of the music coursing through her. Yet, in contrast to that evening a year prior when she performed under the assumption that no one was listening, she now welcomed the bond with her audience, particularly with the man who observed her with steadfast focus. Following her performance, which showcased the pieces she had perfected during her time overseas, Olivia was met with a standing ovation that persisted until James made his way to the stage alongside her. The crowd hushed, intrigued by this unforeseen turn of events. Professor Bennett declared from the side of the stage that this gentleman has valuable insights to contribute to our program. James made his way to the piano. I'm not a performer, he addressed the audience, but I've been taking lessons. He took a seat next to Olivia on the bench. May I have your consent? Startled, Olivia gave a slight nod. James started to play a lovely yet straightforward tune, the opening notes of Beethoven's Für Elise. Following the initial phrase, Olivia harmonized, introducing a contrasting element to his tune. In harmony, they crafted the composition as a duet, their fingers occasionally grazing the keys of the keyboard. As the final notes faded, the crowd burst into applause once again. James faced Olivia, gently grasping her hand. A year prior, you found yourself in solitude, believing no one was paying attention, he murmured, his tone soft enough for only her ears to catch, even with the microphone in place. I wish for both of us to collaborate from now on. He delved into his pocket and retrieved a box that mirrored the one she had received earlier, a contingency in case she had failed to locate the initial one. Olivia Reed, would you grant me the privilege of sharing my life with you, just as we have shared our music? Olivia's smile shone brightly as she leaned closer to the microphone. Indeed, as James slid the ring onto her finger, she murmured, you orchestrated this entire spectacle, didn't you? With a bit of assistance, he confessed, gesturing toward Diana and Thomas who were glowing with pride from the side of the stage. Certain pieces hold such significance that they demand careful crafting rather than spontaneous creation. As they welcomed guests at the reception, a young girl timidly approached, holding a program close to her chest. Excuse me, Ms. Reed, I was curious. She looked at her mother for support. Are you offering piano lessons? Olivia crouched down to meet the girl's gaze. I participate in the center's community program. Are you interested in expanding your knowledge? The girl nodded with enthusiasm. I aspire to play like you one day. May I ask what your name is? James interjected, becoming part of the discussion. Ellie, the girl responded. Olivia and James shared a glance, each lost in thoughts of Eleanor Blackwood. Well, Ellie, Olivia mentioned, lessons begin next week. The initial one is my treat. As the girl hurried back to her mother, Professor Bennett came forward with another surprise. An enlarged version of the photograph he'd shared with them a year prior, now elegantly framed. It was a present for the wedding, he elaborated. The original negative was discovered in my archives. In the expansive print, one could observe not only Eleanor and Sophia at the piano, but also their families gathered close, generations intertwined through music, and now bound by love. History tends to echo through time, Professor Bennett noted, with nuances, James remarked, gently holding Olivia's hand. The finest creations always embrace that, Olivia responded, surveying the lively arts center, filled with students, musicians, and supporters who had come together to honor not only her performance but also the resurgence of a cherished community gem. A year had changed it all, her profession, her self-assurance, her emotions. The path forward promises greater adventures, additional showcases, and new obstacles to overcome. Yet, in contrast to the timid waitress who once performed in a deserted diner, Olivia now welcomed both the limelight and the man who had initially observed from the sidelines. In unison, they forged a creation that neither could have achieved in solitude, a melody that would resonate long after the last echoes disappeared into quietude.